I just want to encourage us today, man, to don't forget the backstory for yourself. It's like we hear Andre's backstory and we just heard the backstory. Don't forget your own backstory. And open up a door of forgiveness for yourself. You can't take full credit for everything you chose to do. Some of that shit was influenced on you, right? But own your peace. We're going to own our peace, you know. We ain't got to own nobody else's, but we're going to open up a doorway of forgiveness.
Moving out my parents' house when I was 18. Almost 6. And I'm just now trying to figure out who the hell is Andre Burke. And it has not been hard. It's always been dependent on other people rather than depending on myself, and that is no way to live, let me tell you. So 2018, I moved out and I was on the streets, and I was couch surfing and doing the drugs, and I found cocaine, Molly, and DMT to be within the easiest things to grasp and do recreationally, and it really did tear me up. It tore up my life with my friends, it tore up my life with my family, and again, it was no way to live. A man should be more vulnerable with his peers, with his family, and I figured, you know, since I had so much pain in my life, I could justify why I was doing these drugs and acting this type of way, but no, there's no justification for what I was doing. So I ended up selling most of these drugs so I'd be able to get it easily like that. And when I got into relationships, it was hard for me because I would always find a reason to do this certain type of thing or act a certain type of way, and it really hurt. It didn't just hurt me, it hurt the people around me. And I see that now. I see it every day. I look into people's eyes that I know and love, and wow, they're just like, man, why weren't you this honest or this nice years ago, you know? But back with the drugs, I would take these drugs and I would go out and I would go and party and I would go and get my ass in trouble. I'm on my like 5th misdemeanor now. No felonies, thank the God. But I'm on my 5th misdemeanor now, and wow, I was never meant to be that man, but I also feel like I had to take those steps into the hole, so to speak, to be able to find a light at the end of the tunnel. But it really didn't help. I masked a lot with the drugs, like, so I'm adopted. A lot of you don't know, I don't talk about it much, but I am adopted. And my parents actually did a crap ton of drugs. Cocaine, meth, smoking weed, alcoholics, and the addiction I was told ran in my family. So it was really hard for me to drop these drugs once I picked them up. So back in 2023, I got into this relationship. I was actually in the midst of having 2 jobs. I had a car, I had a girlfriend, and this girlfriend, no matter how hard she tried, could not get me to stop drinking. I was a terrible alcoholic. Not a violent alcoholic, but still an alcoholic nonetheless. And we ended up, almost having twins. And my drinking, my smoking, my dirty habits actually really ruined that for me. And man, I'm gonna cry if I talk about this, but I have to. I really have to get this off my chest to you guys. I feel like you guys need to hear it, especially coming out of my voice. But I would go to sleep every night. Since I was working, every single night I'd go to sleep, and next to my head I would have a gallon of vodka I would drink like water. It is not funny, but I look at it back. I look back at it now, and I laugh because I'm always thinking like, what the heck was I doing? And my girlfriend at the time noticed this, and 5 months in, she called me. She called me from Planned Parenthood. And she told me, well, I got an abortion. Your twins are gone. And we could already, see and hear the heartbeat. They were about, yay big. You guys know what it's like to have kids, but yeah, she told me I had an abortion. I'm at Planned Parenthood now. I'm getting my stuff checked out. And I don't ever want to see you again. And she ended the call. Well, she told me why. She's like, you're bad for business. You drink too much. You smoke too much. My habits ended up getting her to drink and smoke while she was pregnant, and she didn't like it, and so she cut me out of her life, as she should have, mind you guys, as she should have, because she did have kids already. She had a son and a baby daddy, but that was none of my business. I did throw away a good thing because she was a really nice lady, and it's something that I think about every single day. Like, man, my babies are gone, and there's nothing that I can do about it except for be better. Wake up every day and make the decision of being a better person. Do not pick up that alcohol. Do not pick up that weed. And I ended up relapsing like 3 times with the alcohol. and the weed. But back in 2020, I ended up having a 3-month coke binge where with this group of friends, I would actually go over to their house, and all 3 meals of the day would be cocaine and smoking weed and drinking alcohol. And wow, am I paying for it now, because every time I brush my teeth are screaming at me, my nose is screaming at me every time I blow my nose, like, why did you do that? Yeah. Three meals a day of cocaine. It was not just a line, it was an 8-ball of cocaine every single time we did it. For 3 months straight, and my body almost crashed out on me. It almost just said, man, you are not deserving of this body. God almost took me back, but I feel like I got a second wind and a blessing from Big G, and he gave me another chance. So I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, man, you gotta stop this shit. Andre Nicholas Burke, you got to stop this shit. And that was the first time I have ever really truly taken accountability and looked at myself in the mirror and, said, hey, young boy, you gotta stop. You have to stop, or else you're gonna continue to hurt people that love you, and people are gonna move away from you, Because I know you guys have dealt with people moving away from you because of poor decisions, but hearing about it and living it is really different, So that was the first time I had ever, looked at my own face and said, Andre, you gotta stop. And for a while I did, and I ended up kicking the rich man's drug, because I'm not a rich man. So I ended up kicking cocaine, also because a big part of me really did not want to keep doing cocaine. I actually was able to cold turkey out of that. And as you guys know, cold turkeying is really hard. It's a bitch and a half times 10 with wings. So kicking that was really hard for me, but I was able to cold turkey it. And I still think about it every day. Like, I still wake up in the morning and I'm like, wow, I could really go for a line. And then I'm like, no, you gotta stop that. You really had a day where you said you were gonna stop and you should be done, right? My mind is like, right. And then this side's like, eh. But, it still runs in my head. But fast forward, I look at myself now and I'm like, I am so happy I stopped all of that. I'm so happy I stopped all of that. But the drinking and the smoking was still there. So this year, I ended up getting into another relationship where the girl, she had a daughter, and the daughter did not come from me, but she looked at me as dad. She called me dad because I was the only dad she had ever known. So-and-so ended up getting raped and having a child, and she never saw her dad. Never. We were actually fighting every single month to get this man in jail. And I was the one who stepped up and decided to take the place of, I can be a dad. I can treat this woman right, and I can do this. But my addiction was still with me. I was still drinking, and I did some pretty terrible things, like yelling at the babe and yelling at my girlfriend, and this is not something that she needed to see at all. So it was really hard, really hard. I ended up leaving her because I did not want to do anything irrational, you guys know. Irrational, like putting my hands on this lady or putting my hands on the baby or whatnot. But she was a year old, and it took a lot out of me. And so I ended up, after a few months, I ended up stopping my drinking, and I'm sober now. But I still look back at all these times where I could have had something, but I threw away that chance. But God is still with me. God is still with you guys, and I'm happy because I was able to get sober.
To do the 52-week classes. So we send Sammy and Dee through those programs, and because we believe that, we want to have someone there with the academics, the book, but we also wanted to show a different face for that, those of us who have done it, kind of like hit, like it just sometimes it can hit different, right? And so we wanted to make sure that we were able to present that information. And so when we think about why we do certain things, nobody has really asked us where you come from. They just look at what you do. And until we start like dismantling that, and it's almost like predictable. It was predictable that you was going to use, without any intervention, no interruption, you're going to go the path that you chose. That was going to happen. And most of us, if we don't do any intervention, we can almost predict with a 90-degree of certainty what most of us would have been out there doing. If I didn't get no intervention, if didn't nobody intervene in my life, man, I would have ran back to the penitentiary. I would have never made it out. So that's what we in here to do, is to interrupt and intervene with each other. And then we're going to reach out. We're going to spread out. It started off, this room, we started off with maybe 6 or 10 of us, right? And then we had about 200. And y'all the cream that rose to the top, right? And you stick it in. And so I just really want to encourage us today is to look at our backstories, right? And start studying your own life. I've given a journal to a few of you and started you to actually start writing in your journals, right? I hope that you're doing it. Because when you do that, you're going to discover some of your own truths. And you're going to open up a door to forgive yourself, right? I want you to be able to tell just a little bit about yourself so that we can show. Because we don't have to convince anybody. I ain't trying to convince nobody. I can show them proof. And that, truth got proof. And I just want them to be able to see the proof. And they can see the proof through your life, Andre. They can see the proof through our lives, right? I was supposed to have been dead before I made it to the penitentiary. When I made it to the penitentiary, they said I had a double life sentence. That means I was going to have to die twice, right? And I'm here, right? We are all miracles, like each one of us. You know,